Hello, Peter Willis here again. Welcome to the flying part of the BMFA Achievement Scheme Fixed Wing B-Test video, produced by the BMFA Achievement Scheme Review Committee. If you've not seen the introduction or the Fixed Wing A-Test videos, can I suggest that you take a look at those, as there will be elements of those videos applicable to the BMFA Fixed Wing B-Test that we will not cover in this video. In particular, the pre-flight and post-flight checks. Just remember, at the B standard, an examiner would expect you to fully understand and demonstrate all the checks, including range checks and fail-safe checks, as if you've just arrived at the flying field, whilst talking them through exactly what you're doing, and it doesn't hurt sometimes to explain why. So let's go over to the flying field and see Duncan McClure, the National Scheme Controller, demonstrate just the pre-takeoff checks and the fixed wing B manoeuvres.
Okay, Peter, well, I've done all my post-arrival and assembly checks as we saw earlier. What I'm going to do now, I'm ready to fly. It's an electric model, but I haven't connected up the battery because there's no reason for carrying around a live model. I've come out here just short of the runway threshold. I'm going to make the model live and go through my pre-takeoff checks. So I'm standing over the model. I'm going to do everything behind the propeller. I've turned the transmitter on. I've made sure I've got the correct model memory. Made sure that the battery meter is good. I've orientated the aerial. This is a 2.4 system. I've also checked all the trims and all the rate switches are where I would expect them to be. So I've done my smart checks. Now what I'm going to do is make the model live. So standing over it and restraining it from behind. I can hold on to the main former while I connect the battery. So that's the speed controller gone through its check. It's beeped at me 6 times to tell me it's a 6-cell pack, which is correct. I bat-statted the pack before I put it in, so I know it's good. But I also, when I do my pre-takeoff power check, that will also tell me that the pack is fully charged. So connect up my neck strap now. Check all the controls: right aileron, left aileron, up elevator, down elevator, left rudder, right rudder. Oh, caught the throttle there. Now I'm going to do the same thing at full throttle. Okay, all good. So now I'm ready to fly. Oh, one other thing I will show you. Yes, we're going to do the fail-safe check. So select a low throttle setting. Turn the transmitter off. Make sure the engine goes to the motor goes to idle, or goes to stop in this case because it's electric. Close the throttle. Switch the transmitter back on. Make sure I've got good connection again.
Whilst having a fail-safe correctly set is a mandatory requirement when the radio is capable of fail-safe or the model is 7 kilograms or over, it is not necessary to check these every flight or session. However, for the purposes of the B-test, you will be expected to know and understand the guidance and rules, and then show the examiner that you are complying.
Okay, taxiing out. Okay, checking around, taking off.
The first part of the B-test is exactly the same as the A-test. The examiner will be looking for a reasonably straight takeoff and gentle climb out, even if there is a bit of a crosswind. They will then be looking for really good level control in the turns, with careful use of throttle and elevator to maintain those level turns. Don't make the circuit too tight to give yourself plenty of time to get nicely positioned for the next manoeuvre, which is the figure of 8. The examiner will be a little less forgiving on a B-test than they may have been on an A-test, and will expect to see really good centering of the manoeuvre and even sizes to the circles without any diving and climbing, especially if bank angle has to be adjusted slightly to maintain the size of the circles. The next manoeuvre is the inside loop. You can fly another circuit to position into wind for this manoeuvre. The examiner will be looking for a well-centered loop with entry and exit levels being the same, and a nice round shape, which often means easing off on the elevator as the model goes over the top of the loop. The outside loop, or bunt, should be flown downwind. Again, centering, roundness, entry and exit levels are important. Careful use of the throttle and elevator is necessary to achieve this. Next is the 2 consecutive rolls into wind and 2 consecutive rolls in the opposite roll direction downwind and centred on the pilot position. Some candidates find this difficult. The roll rate is important, not so fast that no elevator control is necessary, and not so slow that it might almost be a hesitation roll. Most of us have a preferred roll direction. It is important to practice rolling in the less comfortable direction to ensure consistency in both directions. Next is the stall turn, which can be flown up or downwind, but the turn must be away from the pilot. Entry and exit levels should again be the same. We now come on to the 3-turn spin, which requires a well set up and trim model. Entry to the spin should be from the fully stalled level flight. Exit should be in the same tracking direction as entry, with only minor adjustments to direction if the spin recovery is not quite in line. Next is the rectangular landing circuit with a low approach and go around below 10 feet. The examiner will call the go around when they are satisfied that you could, if necessary, have made a normal landing off the approach. This is not a low pass, but simulating an unexpected go around from a normal landing approach. So speed and height control on final is important, and allowing the speed to build up a little before climbing away will also be watched for. The last exercise is a rectangular low-level circuit not above 40 feet in the opposing direction. Don't forget to make calls to warn other flyers throughout the test of non-standard manoeuvres, even if there is not actually anyone flying. It is even more important to maintain level in the turns at this height, and any climbing or descending during the downwind leg, for instance, will be much more noticeable. The end of the flying part of the test comes with the rectangular landing circuit and touchdown within a pre-designated 30-metre boundary, normally based around the centre point of the runway. Once again, good speed and height control will be watched for with a well-controlled flare and landing. Assuming a successful flight, now only the questions remain. You will be asked 5 mandatory questions and a minimum of 8 on safety, including flying display and club safety rules. It is important that you have checked for the latest regulatory developments before the test, as the mandatory questions may have been updated due to the changing regulatory environment.
Okay, Peter, so I've landed the model and recovered it, taxied it to the edge of the strip, but what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to go out with my transmitter to recover the model, and I'll say a little bit more the reason I've done that when I bring it back and after I've made it safe. Okay, the reason I took my transmitter with me, well, there are several reasons and some very important points to make in relation to the test. First of all, it's a 2.4 gigahertz radio system, so it doesn't suffer the co-channel interference that you might have experienced with 35 meg radio, or 27 for that matter. So, and also it's much safer for me to handle to take my transmitter with me because I'm aware of what all the switches do. I've got a safety arm switch on the motor there, but if I put it on the ground and let's say it fell over and knocked the throttle could go to full throttle, you know, really uncommanded, or if I gave it to someone else who wasn't familiar with my transmitter. So there are lots of hazards associated with passing the box over or leaving it behind. So it's actually much safer. Generally, it's a very good idea for clubs to keep control of transmitters by having them all in a common area, such as the pilot box or whatever. But for recovering a model from the edge of the strip for 2.4 equipment, there's actually no justification or no need for the transmitter to be left behind or be left with another individual. It's much safer for it to be taken with you.
Well, I hope you found this video of some use. As before, you can contact us through the Facebook page, the Achievement Scheme website or the BMFA website. We're keen on your feedback and we hope you found this video of some use in preparing to take your B test. Bye for now.